coming up on the show today, meet the man who says he obtained Jeffrey Epstein's black book. He's going to join us for a discussion. Hail Commanders! Why did I say that? Because we are Commanders Central. Yes, all things Commanders. Chad Ricardo going to join us live from training camp with the latest. And we're talking dating, but not just dating in general. In this case, 6 tips in order to make sure you stay in a relationship. Can't wait to chat about that. All that and more coming up on the show, but first, here's the man with the master plan, Caesar, joining us with all things weather right here on the Live Zone. I feel like a game show host today for some reason.
Well, with how hot everything is, we're all staying inside. I feel like we're all going a little stir crazy. I'd be a game show host as well, Hey, when does it finally end? Let's see what's going on, right? Basically. And you know what? It feels like it's just rotating,
Yeah.
It's almost like it's the same cast every single day right now in terms of weather, because you'll notice once we take a look here at the weather menu, right? Well, again, stretch of high heat. That's the big thing. We have that giant H, that heat dome, still sitting over top of us. And as that continues to sit there, we get tons of sunshine, and that's going to really be the main thing going over the next 48 hours, just about 36 to 48 hours. Just more sunshine than what we can really do with. But then by the time we get towards the end of the work week, that's again, that major pattern flip. That's what we're looking at. We are noticing the trends of wetter weather, and then after that, it finally helps cool us down. So looking at the forecast for today, we're expected to see temperatures now up to 97, but given the fact that we still have that giant H over top of us, that heat dome, winds are going to be very light. So not going to even really feel much of a breeze, nothing to really help cool us down. So again, very important. Stay indoors with the AC, become best friends with it, because most of us are going to feel like temperatures up to 102. So it is going to be hot and humid. Then going into tonight, again, another night where we stay pretty warm. It's temperatures mostly in those mid to upper 70s, especially here around in the district. So we are starting off with that warm base, and then that warm base leads to more warm temperatures. Tomorrow we can also expect to see most of us hanging around those upper 90s. So expecting to see that plenty of sunshine, making it feel even worse, because as soon as you step outside, not only are you sweating, becoming a sweaty mess because of the humidity, but that sunshine just beating down on you. It's no fun, right? We do see that we start to see humidity increasing some because of this incoming system, so can't rule out a stray shower at times towards the evening time frame, but again, not going to be really the wettest day of the week. Looking at the highs tomorrow, this is going to make it even worse. Most of us are going to be back in those upper 90s. Even some spots like Frederick, even the district, could see temperatures getting close to 100. Look at that, 99 in Frederick, 98 in DC. It is just going to be downright miserable once again. The good thing is, though, temperatures drop dramatically. Going from Wednesday to Thursday, okay, about 9 to 10 degrees, right? Then going from Thursday to Friday, that's going to be our biggest drop, about 10 to 15 degrees in temperature. And on top of that, we are going to see that the rain showers bring in much cooler air and drier air, as dew points will be relatively hanging well in towards those into the low 50s. So again, very comfortable for us, but Thursday is going to be a little bit more of a wet day, especially for the second half, and then it'll blend into parts of Friday morning. So that's where we can still see some of those rain showers. But by the time we get towards, let's say, the evening time frame, right? Dry, nice, temperatures comfortable, and again, less humidity. So as we then plan for the weekend, after finally this entire stretch of very hot weather, it becomes beautiful. Temperatures in those low 80s by the time we get towards Saturday and Sunday, and mostly sunny skies. So you can get outside, enjoy it, actually be able to have your sweat evaporate off of you instead of adding to more of that humidity. It is just looking fantastic. And then that also goes in towards the next work week. So August looking to start off a little bit nicer, kinder to us than what June has been. But again, we can't hold our breath for too long with this. Got to get outside, got to enjoy it, because Guy, it is going to be a fantastic weekend. So I'm hoping people are really going to make plans to be outside on Saturday and Sunday. Look at those temperatures.
Yeah, count
81,
me in.
82,
I'll be there.
Right? It's beautiful. Get outside.
All right, Caesar with all things weather right here on the Live Zone. Truly appreciate you, my friend. Folks, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can take that hot forecast with you that will then cool down any and everywhere you go. All right, guys, we begin the show with a Fox 5 News alert. 4 people are dead after a shooting inside of a Midtown Manhattan office building. 2 women, 1 man, and 1 NYPD officer were killed. Another man said to still be in critical condition. The suspected gunman also dead after authorities say he took his own life. The high-rise is home to some top financial firms and the headquarters to the NFL. Witnesses reported the gunman walking into the building yesterday evening armed with a long rifle. Well, this afternoon, an investigation continues. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Arif Halaby, former law enforcement and now political strategist, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Arif, always good to see you, my friend. You know, Arif, we'll start the show off with, not to interrupt you, but
in a former life, I was a Los Angeles police officer, and this is such a tragic turn of events. And this young man actually went to high school right down the street from my office in Southern California. So, and where he went to school many years ago, many years prior, I was a patrol officer in that area for 2.5 years. So I know the area well. Middle-class neighborhood, middle-class kid. In fact, breaking news with you, as far as I know, one of the officials at his high school just spoke to him, just got off the phone, and indicated that he was a good kid, a good young man, never any problems, very quiet, and not a problem child there in high school. So it's a very tragic guy.
Yeah, very tragic to say the least. Speaking to what you just made mention of, we know that this young man at one point played football, played high school football, and he did leave a note behind stating that he was a victim of CTE, a condition that damages the brain as a result of, well, getting hit on the head several times, multiple times, in his case, or what he assumes is while playing football. This has been an issue that we have seen time and time again, Arif, and according to the NFL, they are not hiding anything with regard to CTE. But do you think as a result of this, perhaps legislation will be passed for the NFL to be more front forward with regard to all things surrounding CTE?
Well, today's helmets are much different than the helmets worn even just 10 years ago. The technology that's built into these helmets, the ability to track when somebody's been hit, the sensors that are in them. If you watch an NFL game, you'll see that when a bad hit is taken by, let's say, a running back, in fact, they pull him out of the game. They take a look at him, look at the sensors, and see how bad it's been. Maybe legislation will make a difference. I'm not one to think that legislation is always the answer to every problem, but in fact, there should be something to take that technology all the way down to the high school level. By the time you get into the NFL, you have had thousands, if not tens of thousands, of impact hits to your head. And I think there needs to be a change, Guy.
Yet again, our prayers are going out to the family and friends of those who lost loved ones during that horrific event in New York City. Well, this hour, President Trump is headed back to D.C. after leaving his golf course in Scotland. Upon arriving, the president, well, is going to have to address a number of things, among them Gaza. According to President Trump, there is, quote, real starvation in Gaza as the death toll climbs. This differs from the prime minister's point of view, prime minister being Benjamin Netanyahu, who says there is no starvation. What's going on with this, Arif, and what will happen in your mind?
Yeah, I think the Gaza-Egypt border has been controlled by Egyptians for quite a long time. They can bring in as much food as they want, as much of the aid that they need. So the southern border of Gaza is well protected by Egypt and certainly can be one that streams in all the aid that's needed. I saw some B-roll just last week, and it showed the UN bringing in quite a bit of food, and they were bringing in white SUVs carrying this aid, and they were $100,000 Cadillac Escalades. Now explain to me why the UN is spending their money on Cadillac Escalades. That's ridiculous. When Hamas, all they have to do is remove the hostages, release them, bring them back, and this is over from as far as the bombing. But Hamas is hanging on by a thread and hiding behind its citizens. And so the decision that Israel made is maybe not one that I or you would make, but they have to root out Hamas. They have to find a way to create this ability to separate Hamas from the Palestinians. If they can do that, in other words, have protected aid stations, without the aid having to go through Hamas. Now, that's part of the problem. Hamas takes the aid, keeps the best stuff for themselves and their soldiers and their elite, and then sells the rest and taxes the citizens to receive that aid. Sad.
Yeah, well, as the saying goes, if it's not one thing, it's another. In this case, the other happens to be Russia and how President Trump will handle that. The president says he does not want to speak with Putin at this very moment and has given him a new time frame. We all know that. That is now 10 to 12 days. The Kremlin recognize that they acknowledge that they understand the president has given them a new time frame. However, they have not stated as to whether or not they will abide by it. Your take on what will happen?
Yeah, in the world of India and Pakistan and Cambodia and Thailand and all the skirmishes in the Middle East, the one with Russia concerns me the most. Russia can and probably will escalate this before they come to some agreement. Russia's looking for respect, and President Putin doesn't seem to get that from the rest of the world. And in fact, he has sent a lot of very vicious folks. In other words, he's emptied his prison, sent them to the front line. I'll commute your sentence if you fight on the front line. So he still has reserved some of the best troops for last. My concern is he's not going to take, Putin is not going to take the president seriously until there's something very bad that's going to happen. I'm concerned about this. I don't want to predict anything dramatic, but I think some bad stuff could be coming around the corner.
Yeah, well, in this case, I hope that you're wrong, my friend. We all want to see peace within that region and peace worldwide. Yet again, we have been joined by Arif Halaby, a political strategist. And of course, Arif, if folks want to check you out on the radio, how would one go about to do so?
Yeah, you can reach us at 888-99-RETIRE. That's our financial company. But certainly go to AM 870, The Answer, Salem broadcast in Los Angeles, 870 AM, every Sunday from 11 to 1. Appreciate it.
Good stuff. Arif Halaby yet again joining us right here on the LZ. Well, my next guest is an investigative journalist known for his work exposing the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking network. I'm referring to Mr. Nick Bryant. He made headlines by obtaining and sharing Epstein's little black book back in 2015, which reportedly contained contact information for over, get this, 1,000 individuals, if not more. Nick has made it his business to focus on reducing child exploitation and holding powerful individuals accountable. He now joins us on the Live Zone. And with that, I say, Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
So, Nick, out of curiosity, and a lot of us have known and heard about Jeffrey Epstein for quite some time, but what was it about him that got your attention?
I've been researching and writing about child trafficking for 22 years. I've spoken at a number of conferences. And what happened with Epstein is there were reports of him molesting multiple minors. And there was a grand jury that was convened and paneled in Florida, and it didn't indict Jeffrey Epstein on a single count of child abuse. So I went down there in 2012, and that's when I acquired his black book, which would eventually hit the internet in 2015. And there's well over 100 victims in the black book, and I started to call them, and most of them didn't want to talk to me, but the ones that did talk to me were talking about being flown on planes and being flown to an island. And at that point, Jeffrey Epstein was just a lone pedophile. But after I called those victims, I realized that he was running a nationwide child trafficking network.
You know, they say where there's smoke, there's fire, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of smoke with regard to surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. At what point did you say to yourself, this has to be bigger than what I initially thought it happened to be?
When I acquired the black book, the names in the black book are stratospheric. I mean, basically, a number of those people reside on Mount Olympus. And then with what the victims told me, I put it together pretty quickly. And then I had difficulties selling the story because people just didn't want to embrace the fact that our government had covered up child trafficking.
Yeah. Nick, I'm curious, and I'm not sure if you can answer this, but typically in a black book, at least in my time, perhaps someone I have, let's say, a relationship a little bit better than others, I would, in essence, put a star perhaps by their name. Did you see anything like that within that book?
Yes. The black book was purloined by Epstein's house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez. And he circled names that he thought were in pedophilic cahoots with Jeffrey Epstein. So there's a number of circled names in the black book.
And so with that, at any point, were you, let's say, fearful and or concerned About your safety. Yet again, we know Mr. Epstein, at least while he was alive, happened to be a very powerful man. And not only that, but to what you alluded to, his associates powerful as well.
I have written about various psychopaths over the years, so I wasn't too daunted by Jeffrey Epstein and his ilk.
Well, we'll move on with regard to the media coverage that we have since seen unfold initially when Mr. Epstein first came to the forefront to what it is now. Can you speak to how it's changed in your mind?
Well, it's really blown up. I mean, the Trump administration reneging on its promise for transparency with Epstein has really blown this up. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, adjourning Congress early so Congress couldn't vote on an investigation into a bunch of child molesters. I mean, it's gotten very, very egregious, and the American people really want answers. According to a CBS poll, 89% of Americans think that there should be full transparency with Epstein from our government.
We have spoken about Epstein, obviously, that's what this segment is about, but I want to move on from that. In this case, give the energy where it should be. And that happens to be the survivors. And I'm curious, your take and or words surrounding them.
Well, a lot of the survivor, according to that strange document that was released by the Department of Justice and FBI, there's well over 1,000 victims of Jeffrey Epstein. And there was the Epstein Victims Compensation Program, and 225 came forward, and 100 grants were, or 100 settlements were awarded. But the problem, and then 12 women declined settlements, because if you got a settlement from the Epstein Victims Compensation Program, you had to sign an NDA that you wouldn't go after any other of your perpetrators, which is additional indication that there are a number of co-conspirators involved in the Jeffrey Epstein case, despite what the FBI and Department of Justice are currently saying.
Yeah, yet again, this is truly concerning. Nick will end with this, and that is you have made it your mission now to expose and or bring justice, if you will, to those that have been a victim of, let's say, child exploitation. Folks that want to find out more information about you, sir, and or what you are doing to do just that, how would one go about to do so?
Go to the website. We started a 501c3 called Epstein Justice, and your audience, I encourage your audience to go to epsteinjustice.com, and you can take a look at what we believe, what our plans are, and there's really good people that are involved with Epstein Justice. So I'd strongly encourage your audience to take a look at our website.
Very good. Yet again, we have been speaking with Mr. Nick Bryant. Truly appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. Hey, on the flip side of that break, let's lighten things up, shall we? In this case, we're talking dating. Not one tip, not two, but 6 in all. We'll speak with an expert next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Let's talk about dating, shall we? I bet you I got your attention now. Well, it's no secret, modern dating can feel like a full-time job, and a frustrating one at that. Now, if you've been searching to no avail and are wondering how to find a relationship with long-term potential, guess what? You're not alone. So what is the best way to find a relationship? Enter my next guest, matchmaker and founder of Luma Luxury Matchmaking, Miss April Davis, back here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, April. Welcome back to the show. April, I got to tell you, prior to you coming on, we promoted that you were going to be on the show. I received not only 2 texts, but 3 tweets, or whatever you want to say that they post on X nowadays, stating they couldn't wait to see this segment. I'm with them. And so in this case, you're going to provide us with not 1, not 2, but count them, 6 tips that folks can really focus on with regard to having a mindset shift. And so with that, let's talk about tip number 1.
Yeah, I always tell people to focus on quality and not quantity. When you go on a dating app, there always seems like there's just a plethora of options. And it's kind of like when you go to Home Depot to pick out a paint color. There's too many options and it becomes overwhelming. And people just tend to just sit there and they get like in this mode of swiping and not really thinking about it. So I always say, really focus on the quality in the conversations that you're having with people to help to bring you closer instead of having a ton of conversations going on.
You know, the best part about this is, April, is that I can apply that to pretty much my everyday life. I really think I can.
Right. Yeah, it's so true.
The second tip surrounds really being clear on what you're looking for. Do tell.
Right. So I always focus on people's values in the long term because you might, there might be trends and things, come and go, but what is going to keep someone in a relationship long term, or if they have aligned values? And those are deal breakers. Those are true deal breakers. So if somebody wants to, get married or have kids, or if their religion is really important to them, those are things that you can't just, push to the side and rely on that chemistry to be able to get you through the relationship, because that eventually subsides and you have to really have, at the end of the day, your values are what matters most.
Yeah. Okay. So I got a question, April. I remember going on a date, and at that date number 1, the young lady stated to me, "I can't wait to get married." And I got to tell you, it somewhat rubbed me the wrong way after meeting her or knowing her for only 5 minutes, and that's one of the things that she said. Is there a time frame with regard to that?
Well, that just comes off as being kind of desperate, and and nobody wants to feel like they're being pushed in any which way. So yeah, it's not attractive. Nobody wants something that's easily available. It's like a diamond, right? It's rare. And everybody wants that rarity, but if you're just a grain of sand, then of course you're not going to be as attractive. So it's just basic logic there. But I think she was definitely a little too eager, so could use a little coaching there.
That's why we love this advice, because it is truly rare, like a diamond. The next tip happens to be invest your time in the right spaces.
Right. So, put yourself in situations and places where you're going to meet the kind of people that are a good fit for you. So, for example, if your values are, working out or being active or adventurous, you can go to places that will have those kinds of situations. So maybe it's the gym or some kind of group. There's a lot of great meetup groups. There's a lot of things that are popping up that are facilitating people to meet in person. So I highly recommend people do that. And yeah, just getting out there, even a networking event, because those are going to be full of other single people that, are probably business minded as well. So you're going to have some things in common with them. You don't have to have everything in common with them, but at least, it's a good start.
April, I feel as if you could read my mind, because my next question happened to surround, obviously you want to be around like-minded people, but don't opposites attract? Haven't we all heard that as well?
They can. Right. So for certain things, I think that your values still need to be aligned at the end of the day. You can't get away from that. But people can have different interests and tastes and likes, and that's where I think opposites can attract, because it can be that novelty, the newness, novelty, and it can be interesting and attractive, even seductive, to have somebody that's different than you, as long as you're open to it. And that's part of I think the fun in a new relationship is getting to know someone, because you're introducing each other to your worlds, and it's new. And that's what, just keeps you captivated.
Yeah, which allows us to segue into number 4, which you just touched on, and that is stay grounded and your values. That's so key.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The right relationship won't ask you to be somebody that you're not. So it's important to, know who you are, know what's important to you. We have people go through a values assessment, that it's kind of a tool that we use with some of our clients when we're doing some date coaching. And it basically puts their values up against each other and they weigh them to see what's their biggest priority. And these are things such as, like honesty, integrity, wisdom, health, just those are real things. They're not like eye color or height or things that are more superficial. These are things that are intrinsic in you that are going to matter 40 years down the road. So that's what I always say. People are so focused on the here and now and the superficial things, but if you want a long lasting relationship that's going to make it through the ups and downs, you really need to focus on what matters most, and that's a person's value.
What she said.
Values, I should
I
say.
agree
Yeah.
wholeheartedly, April. Especially the part about the height thing. As a guy that stands 5'7", us short guys need love as well.
Well, of course, and I think that, yeah, what they call it, the short kings, right? They're a bunch of men that are just. That's what I hate about the apps, because they are putting filters on there, so they're being able to filter people out, and it's just, I think people are really missing out on some gems. For
Awesome.
Sure.
All right. The next one happens to be make sure, and I'll repeat it, make sure you are emotionally available.
Yeah, and what a novel idea, right? So, I mean, a lot of people are still hung up on their exes. Maybe they're hurt. They're carrying that baggage forward. And you have to recognize what is your sensitivities, what are your past traumas. And so you're not putting those on the next person. Oftentimes, I see people that will kind of date down, or they'll date somebody that just is not ever going to really be the kind of person that they would really want to enter into a long-term relationship with. And the reason why they do it is because they're scared to actually find the real one ultimately. Or they sabotage relationships whenever they find somebody that it starts to get real, it starts to get serious. And then they'll say other people are the ones that the other person is the one that's not emotionally available, but really it's them they're sabotaging it, because they're scared to actually be vulnerable and open up. And we all have had past traumas. I just highly recommend, we all just do our work, whether it's meeting with a counselor or therapist, or reading books, or just, having that self-reflection, and
Which-
really making sure that we're doing our part and recognizing our part in the past relationships that haven't worked out, so we don't repeat those same mistakes.
Yeah, which leads us to our last point, or in this case, your last point, and that happens to be open to support. I absolutely love that.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Like I said, a therapist, there's relationship coaches, of course, there's matchmakers. And I love also, letting your family, friends know that you're single. I think the number one way to meet somebody for a long-term relationship is through someone else. So if you are looking for a relationship, let everyone know that, hey, I'm open and I'm single, ready to mingle. So, set me up and introduce me. And then also be sure not to like put it on them. If the relationship doesn't work out, it's not their fault. They're doing you a favor. It's just a random act of kindness that they're going to be making an introduction for you. And so don't blame them if it doesn't work out. Just be open-minded to the experience. Enjoy getting to know someone and learning something new about somebody.
I can see it now. It's all your fault. It's all your
Oh
fault.
yeah, it happens. And that's why a lot of people don't want to refer their friends to set them up with each other, because they're afraid. But you just never know; it could work out.
Yeah, good stuff. Absolutely love this, April. Folks that want to find out more information and or rehash these tips, how would one go about to do so?
They can go to our website at lumasearch.com. It's LUMA. It stands for Luxury Matchmaking. And so lumasearch.com, and fill out the profile form.
All right, there she is, matchmaker and founder of Luma Luxury Matchmaking, Miss April Davis, yet again, back here on the Live Zone. Always love chatting with you, April. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. Take care.
You bet. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 4 minutes past the top of the hour, and if it's happening now, we're taking you there. In this case, the EPA now looking to roll back greenhouse gas emissions regulations. The EPA administrator speaking right now. Let's take a look in.
Section 202 of the Clean Air Act. They said that carbon dioxide, when mixed with several other well-mixed gases, some of which, by the way, aren't even emitted from mobile sources. So in doing this review, it was specifically for mobile sources. And the EPA said that carbon dioxide, when mixed with a bunch of well-mixed gases, many of which aren't even emitted from mobile sources, that contributes to global climate change. They didn't say causes, they say contributes. Now you might ask how much. They don't say how much. The amount is north of zero. We know that much. And then they say that climate change endangers public health and welfare. Now, if you're following all of the mental leaps there, they then rely on assumptions that ended up not being true. They ended up making predictions about the science that in many respects were not just pessimistic, they turned out not to be true. And for the first time ever, the EPA, in an effort to combat global climate change, end up deciding to reach this endangerment finding and then put forward trillions of dollars of regulations. Regulations that hit mobile sources, stationary sources, airplanes. Now, where did this power come from, one might ask? Well, some don't want to ask. And I'll tell you, when the Supreme Court ruled in Loper Bright, overturning the Chevron doctrine and making it clear that I, as administrator of EPA, that agencies of this federal government do not have the ability to just creatively come up with our own law. We do not have that power on our own to decide as an agency that we are going to combat global climate change because we give ourselves that power. We will follow the law. If Congress wants to amend Section 202 of the Clean Air Act and tell us that they want us to be regulating the heck out of carbon dioxide, methane, and these other greenhouse gases, then we'll follow the law. And in the meantime, we're going to follow the law. The economic consequences of the electric vehicle mandates that followed, all of the added costs to light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles, the practical application of all of those new regulations leading to added costs, which leads to Americans getting older vehicles that actually don't operate as efficiently as the newer ones because people can't afford it. Now, last November, the American public spoke. They elected President Trump, President of the United States. That was the will of the American public. And when they voted, they asked for, demanded that an agency like the EPA would be cognizant of their economic concerns, that all agencies would be applying common sense, that we at EPA must choose to both protect the environment and grow the economy, that it's not a binary choice. And we at the Trump EPA, under the leadership of President Trump, choose both, protect the environment and grow the economy. We'll go through a public comment period. We'll see what the American public has to say about everything that we put out right now on all of this. Now, one approach to it could follow agencies of the past and say, well, we just know best. There'll be no public comment period. That's what they've done over the last decade and a half. We could say, we're going to ignore the Supreme Court decisions in all of those cases that have come out. We could say, well, we'll just make up our own law where there's a ambiguity in statute. We'll ignore the economic consequences. We'll ignore the bad assumptions. We will ignore what proved not just to be pessimistic views of what was going to happen. We'd be ignoring what turned out to be inaccurate. But that's not the decision we make today in putting out this proposed rule. We at the Trump EPA have been delivered a mandate from this president, most importantly from the American public. President Trump called me on Sunday, November 11th, in the morning, asking me to take this position to be the administrator of EPA. President Trump wants us to do our part to help advance for all Americans clean air, land, and water. It gets to the core mission of EPA of protecting human health and the environment. I'm a conservative Republican who wants to be a great steward of the environment. And I have found that conservatives and others across ideologies.
Yet again, the EPA administrator discussing the rollbacks surrounding emissions. We'll keep a close eye on that throughout the remainder of the afternoon right here on the Live Zone. As many of you know, a number of federal workers have found themselves without a job. This in part due to the purge by DOGE. But what about those who remain employed? It turns out a number of federal employees who have retained their jobs are quietly expressing a phenomenon known as layoff survivor syndrome. It's a hidden crisis causing anxiety, burnout, guilt, and uncertainty among those who have seen their colleagues laid off. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more, hey, our friend is back, Kim Ali with the Kim Ali Consulting Firm, joining us on the Live Zone. Happy Tuesday, Kim. Good to see you.
Hi, Guy. Thanks for having me back.
All right, so a lot of folks are talking about this, and quite honestly, it didn't really cross my mind until you and I chatted about it offline, and that is, well, the folks that are left behind. In this case, so many of them are now dealing with layoff survivor syndrome. Do tell.
Yes, guys. So layoff survivor syndrome is the mental and emotional toll employees experience after a layoff, after their colleagues are let go. And it could look like guilt, shame, or even resentment. And Guy, it is a complex emotion that can cause internal conflict because on one hand, you're sad that your colleagues were let go, but then on the other hand, you are relieved that you still have a job.
Yeah, you know, well, I didn't work for the federal government, but at one time I did work as a receptionist years ago. And I remember one of my colleagues happened to be let go. They kept me, thank God, but at some point, oh my gosh, you were so right, Kim. I began to feel guilty, and I began to wonder, why me? Why did they keep me? And what can I do in order to help out my fellow one-time colleague and or employee, the person that was employed by the company that was no longer with us? I'm now learning that's normal.
Yes, it is, Guy. And in fact, some of the things you want to look out for is, do you know the feeling you get on a Sunday evening right before you have to go to work Monday? Or if email lands in your inbox over the weekend, you're constantly wondering, oh my goodness, is this my turn? And when is this going to be over with? And so some of the things that you need to look for in the workplace are decreased productivity, low morale, people are quiet, or people can become competitive, or the environment might become even more toxic. And that is because people are trying to demonstrate the value that they bring to the workplace. And so over time, this can start to manifest as physical symptoms. So you want to start to look out for things like decreased sleep, headaches, or that constant feeling of exhaustion.
Oh my gosh, I think you're talking to me, but that's just because of stress. I'll tell you that one.
Resonate with a lot of the viewers, yeah.
And so in essence, this is the modern day version of crabs in a barrel. That's what I'm kind of getting here, Kim.
Yes, unfortunately, that is the situation. And, you know, Guy, it is imperative for people to be aware of this now because executive orders were passed. The big, beautiful bill was just signed. Senior leaders who could have provided some guidance are no longer there because they took the DRP. And we just started the busiest time of the federal year, which is the fourth quarter.
All right, Kim. So I out and about, a lot of folks walk up to me and they say, "We watch the Live Zone," and I got to tell you, quite honestly, they work for the federal government. So I want you and I to talk directly to them, and that is, what are some tips that you can provide these folks on the other side of this camera right now in order to make sure that they too no longer suffer from this syndrome?
Absolutely. So, Guy, I recommend 3 tips. So, the first thing is have a conversation with your line manager right now and ask them, now that we have limited resources, what are your expectations of me? Because at the end of the day, this is what you are going to be evaluated on during your annual performance review. The second tip I recommend is to set boundaries. Federal employees have experienced numerous transitions right now, but are still expected to keep their personal commitments like parenting or caregiving. And so it is imperative, even if you are reluctant to take vacation because of the climate, I get it, but at least carve out 30 minutes a day that is protected, unplug from emails and phone calls. And last but not least, find a trusted partner at work. This is someone who has demonstrated that they are empathetic, they are non-judgmental, and they can keep your conversations confidential.
Wow, I'm somewhat curious and or perplexed by that, Kim, because yet again, a good buddy of mine happens to be a manager within the federal government. And one of the things that he stressed to me is concern with those that he happened to, let's say, supervise. He said, Guy, there's a lot of water cooler talk at the water cooler, if you will, about folks losing their job. It's incumbent upon me to manage that to make sure that they continue to be productive, to your point. So yet again, I'm referring to the whole gossip aspect. Should we avoid that, or is that something that's just going to happen regardless?
As a manager, it is imperative to address the rumors, right? Because when rumors go unaddressed, they can spiral out of control. So you want to address the rumors and also make your team aware of resources. So first line of defense, if this is impacting your mental health, I always recommend the EAP, which is the Employee Assistance Program. Or if you are looking for something less informal, someone who gets it, who has been able to overcome what you're currently going through, reach out to us at Kim Ali Consulting. We support federal, state, city, and individuals, and we will help you gain your purpose and clarity during this time, because you shouldn't have to go through this alone.
And I'm so glad you touched on that, Kim. I think you can read minds now, because that happened to be my next question. In this case, should folks opt to reach out to you, can you talk about that process briefly? What is it that you do? What is the first step that you would take in order to help that guy or gal out?
Absolutely. So you can contact us on LinkedIn. It's Kim Ali, KYMALI, or you can send us an email at kym.kimali.com. And so what we'll do, we'll have a conversation with you. We want to know where you are. What are you feeling? How is this impacting you? What is the current situation? And what are you looking to get from this? Do you want to stay? Do you want to start looking at resources outside? We will sit with you and walk with you through this process together so you don't feel isolated.
Absolutely love it. I got to tell you, speaking with you made me feel better, and I'm pretty sure a lot of folks watching at home, they're smiling as well and feeling better. Yet again, we have been speaking with Kim Ali with the Kim Ali Consulting Firm. One more time, folks want to reach out to you, Kim. How would one go about to do so?
Absolutely. We are on LinkedIn, or you can send us an email at kimali@kimali.com.
Good stuff. Always good to chat with you, Kim. Make it a great day.
Likewise, you too, Guy.
All right, folks, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
I know you have worked in this field your career. You're smart, you're accomplished, and you have not been cowed by the politics of climate change. You've followed the data. You all have different views, but you follow the data and follow the facts. That's what America is going to do, and we need your help. And I initiated a study to create a report that's released today. It's on the DOE website. You'll see press releases about it. And it was to be an honest, credible, data and fact-driven assessment of climate change. That report went through some internal peer review at the Department of Energy and the national labs. Now the public is open to engage in a thoughtful dialogue about what is climate change. It is a real physical phenomenon. It's worthy of study. It's worthy of even some action. But what we have done instead is nothing related to the actual science of climate change or pragmatic ways to make progress. But this paper is released. I encourage everyone to read it and to engage into this topic. Because whether you're interested in climate change or not, the politics surrounding climate change have shrunk your life possibilities, have put your business here at threat. Can you imagine how much cargo we could transport around the country if you only could use an electric truck, which, by the way, offers roughly 0 reduction in greenhouse gas emissions? Electric vehicles are not climate tools, but they're politically popular because rich people like them, so they've been deemed to be climate solutions. We want to get back to science and data and facts. That's the plan of the Trump administration. That's the plan of Administrator Zeldin and I. We're excited to have that dialogue and to engage the American public on it, because the net result of this is going to be a more thoughtful world, a more prosperous world, a more opportunity-rich world. The practical application is going to be lower-cost vehicles, lower-cost consumer products, lower energy bills, and all the things Americans instinctually want. But that's a process. I'm prejudging my own opinion. We will go through a process with professional review, with the American public review on everything we're trying to do here. I believe today will go down as a momentous day for freedom and liberty in our country, brought to you by President Trump. I'll turn it over now to another leader who has been impassioned and thoughtful in this very issue about American industry and dynamism and common sense on climate change. Former Senator, now Governor, and my friend, Mike Braun.
What a pleasure to be here on a topic that I've talked about for a long time. 6 years I spent in the Senate. It was sometimes like talking to the side of your barn back home.
Yet again, EPA officials speaking on the EPA rollback of greenhouse emissions. And as we stated earlier, we'll continue to monitor that press conference throughout the afternoon right here on the Live Zone. So it's the $1 million question. Did you get a chance to see it earlier? Talking about 12 noon. Yes, continuous coverage of Commanders training camp. Our own Chad Ricardo happened to be there covering all things Commanders. And guess who else happened to be there? This guy. Yes, my very good friend, sports reporter Lou Holder, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, Lou. Looking good, my man.
What's up, Guy? How you doing, my brother?
I am doing great, and I know you are doing great as well. Football is back in a major way. In this case, you happen to be at the training camp, as we like to call it. I got a chance to check both you and Chad Ricardo out earlier for our special from 12 noon to 12:30 right here on the Fox Local Lab. One of the things, Lou, that you touched on, now day 6 of training camp, happens to be Jaden Daniels coming back in a major way. But guess what? He comes back with the same offensive coordinator for not 1, but 2 years in a row. Do tell.
Yeah, that's huge, Guy. I mean, there were so many quarterbacks that you and I have seen that come through Washington, and every year they've had a different coordinator. From Patrick Ramsey when I got here, all the way to Taylor Heineke and Sam Howell, they've all had multiple coordinators. This is the same offensive coordinator in Jaden Daniels here, and I think that's a huge deal that Cliff Kingsbury and a lot of the coaches, most of the coaches, almost all the coaches came back for another run at this thing. So I think that is one of the stories of camp, that all these assistant coaches came back.
All right, let's talk rookies in a major way. In this case, a name that perhaps we will hear a lot, maybe, and I'm referring to Mr. Jalen Lane. This guy is fast, this guy is accurate, and as he put it, when Jaden Daniels throws the ball, it's always there, Lou.
Yeah, this wide receiver group, led by Jordan Lane and some other flashes that we have seen, it's been fun to watch. This wide receiver group, you know, when Terry does get back onto the field and Deebo Samuels, that's one group that a lot of people are looking at, because there's too much talent and not enough positions, you know, for the wide receiver group. So a person like Jalen Lynch and some other rookies are going to have to step up to see if they want to be joined in that group with the Deebo Samuels and Terry McLaurin. So it's going to be fun to see who steps up in that group.
One of the things that you made it your business to talk about happens to be the change of culture transition, the culture change right now with the Commanders, something that you say, Guy, is truly key.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've heard people talk about culture all day long out here, Guy, for years, and it just hasn't materialized. In 1 year, you know how it was last year and the year before. The culture has definitely changed. People want to come here, like a Bobby Wagner and a Zach Ertz, now a Laramie Tunsil, and now a Vaughn Miller. I mean, people know that. I mean, Vaughn Miller said in his press conference, you don't just leave Josh Allen in the Bills to go just anywhere. So people want to come here not just because of the quarterback. The quarterback is good. The quarterback is good. but let me tell you something. That culture that Dan Quinn and others have set is another reason why a lot of these players want to come here.
All right, so Lou, yet again, you got a chance to sit down with our very own Chad Ricardo during our special from 12 to 12:30. You can check it out right here on the Fox Local app. The reason why I really enjoyed it, outside of getting a chance to see the both of you all do your thing, is because you really got a chance to elaborate. And what am I making reference to? I'm talking about what's going on with Terry McLaurin. Obviously, he's yet to sign. Obviously, he is yet to show up in a major way with regard to being on the field. And you had some, a lot of words to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Guy, he's under contract. He's under contract. I mean, in any other business world, I mean, he's under contract. So this thing is going to end in only one way, that Terry has to report at some point. Under contract. It's not like he's a free agent and there's other teams out there to bid against one another to drive up the cost for Terry McLaurin. We've always wanted good management and good leadership. I mean, if you sign up for Adam Peters for all the people that he brought in, you also got to sign up for how he handles his business with contract negotiations. He is not a free agent. He is under contract. So he did the holdout thing, and that cost him 50 large every single day, Guy. We're like, we're not doing that anymore. That was almost $200,000. So now he's he's under this physically unable to perform, which is the PUP list. And so he has an ankle injury, which we'll see how long this ankle injury ends up being an issue. But at the end of the day, Terry McLaurin is going to have to play some football because he's under contract. So we'll see how this plays out. I hope they come to an agreement where Terry gets some of what he wants and the team does what. But again, Bobby Wagner had the best bite of the entire training camp, Guy. He said sometimes the business of football is to mind your own business. So I am minding my own business and letting two sides work their way out. Both sides know that they're better together than apart. But at the end of the day, Terry McLaurin is under contract.
So, Lou, we'll do this, and that is I'll let you get back to business in the shade as soon as you answer this question, which happens to be my last one. I know it's early. I know we're in training camp, but it's the million-dollar question. Overall, with what you've been able to see thus far, how do you think the Commanders will fare this year?
I mean, it's unfinished business, Guy. I mean, everybody here thinks that there's no reason why they can't get back to the NFC Championship game and get to San Francisco in the Super Bowl. I mean, that is not hyperbole. I mean, that's why people are lining up to do this. But again, 2 years ago, the Detroit Lions got to the championship game. They had a lot of people come back, and the Commanders beat them in the divisional round. There's no guarantee that they're going to get to the Super Bowl, but their probability has gone up exponentially with all the things that have happened in the offseason. So I don't see why this team can't get back to where they were before and beyond. But again, you got to have a great season, and you got to get lucky and good with injuries and things of that nature. So it's only July, but that's what everybody signed up here for. That's why everybody's here. That's why the media's here.
Kings training camp with the Commanders. You see the QR code right there on your TV screen. Download it, not now, but right now. That way you can get the latest. By the way, to my understanding, no training camp tomorrow. Back on Thursday, yet again with Chad Ricardo. We've been speaking with Lou Holder, one of the best to do it. Truly appreciate you hopping on the show, Lou.
All right, always a pleasure, Guy. Yo, yo.
Yo, yo. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break. Hey, on the flip side of that break, let's talk a little celebrity dish. In this case, a new plot surrounding P. Diddy. We'll explain coming up next, right here on the Live Zone.
Not to discuss if there would be a meeting.
Can you just give a time? When was that call? Do you have it on there?
I think that was the June call, right?
Yeah, it was
It's June 4th or 5th.
June 4th or 5th.
Thank you.
Great. Right behind.
Hi, Clara from Jägerfeld, Channel 4 Sweden. You've also met with the Swedish government. What topics did you discuss?
We discussed a wide range of topics. First of all, we want to thank the government for the fantastic venue here. Very, very good to be in Stockholm in July. And we discussed the EU deal with the U.S., of which the Prime Minister, the Finance Minister, were very supportive.
All about Swedish agricultural production, which is really interesting. So it was a very productive discussion, and we're grateful again for our Swedish hosts for helping us here.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, when I have spoken to experts regarding the EU-US deal, some have said that it feels secure that there is a deal, but that you still can be a little bit unsure if it would change. What do you have to say to that?
Right now, we have I have texts from some of my European counterparts about making sure the details are correct and fully put on paper. So we feel very confident about it, and it's truly a solid path forward for our two countries.
Thank you.
Yep. And I think the other thing that we discussed that's very interesting is the unintended consequence of President Putin's invasion of Ukraine is bringing in Finland and Sweden into NATO. And we discussed the historic reputation of the Swedish military and how good it was to have them in NATO.
Great. All right. Next question. We'll go one more behind. Sir.
Cao Jie from Phoenix TV, Hong Kong. I believe you discussed a range of topics with your China counterpart in these 2 days. But compared to Geneva and London, do you think is there any questions or issues are becoming tougher and toughest to negotiate? And as you mentioned that the U.S. is trying to convince China not to keep buying the oil, gas from Russia.
All right, guys, yet again, you are watching the U.S. delegation led by the Treasury Secretary as he briefs the media after U.S.-China trade talks. Obviously, this is one of the big stories. You can continue to follow this. It's real simple. You see that QR code right there? Click on that, and you can continue to stream it on our YouTube channel. We encourage you to do so throughout the remainder of the day. Well, let's talk a little celebrity dish, shall we? We normally do it around this time. Okay, maybe a couple of minutes earlier. In this case, he always joins us on a Tuesday. I'm talking about, yes, media royalty. That's because he is the media prince back here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, my friend, and welcome back to the show.
Hello there. We are live in the zone.
All right, Media Prince, let's get it live because we have a lot to talk about. In this case, we'll start off with a game show. In this case, the game show happens to surround none other than Family Feud. You hear about this? Apparently, Jennifer Hudson and the DMV's own Taraji P. Henson went head-to-head with their teams, but both clearly agreed they needed a second opinion on the answer. The question, the best female R&B group. Would you believe it popped up as the Spice Girls, to which both said, "Are you kidding me?" The question is, what say you about this, Media Prince?
Okay, so let's just, if we're going by stats, overall, Spice Girls are the best-selling female group of all time. But if we're talking about the best-selling female R&B group of all time, it's up for debate if it's TLC or Destiny's Child, but it is totally 100% not Spice Girls. I think we need to understand too, guys, listen closely. A lot of us ain't really giving the answers for these Family Feud categories, which is why you're understanding why they think Spice Girls are R&B. And so whoever voted for Spice Girls as R&B, it's quite some nasty work because they are so left of R&B. It's crazy. They're not even the R&B genre whatsoever. It's pop, nothing but the pop. So I again understood exactly why they both were like, excusez-moi, because that was a, but again, none of us voted for that.
Yeah, so Media Prince, we spoke about this earlier on Good Day DC, and I'm with you. This, I can't believe this happened to actually fall into that category. And I made mention of Destiny's Child. Shame on me, I forgot to say TLC, but it is definitely not the Spice Girls. No shade to them, but they are definitely not in that genre. I think we can all.
That's like me saying the Hanson band Bop was the greatest R&B song of all time. Like what?
Hey, Media Prince, that's not. All right, let's move on to one of the breaking news stories of the hour. We are getting word just minutes ago that P. Diddy is looking at taking another bite at the apple. What am I referring to? In this case, getting out of jail. His legal team just filed a new motion for bail, and they say he's the only man in America behind bars for, quote, hiring male sex workers to bang his girlfriend, as they put it. Diddy's legal team just sent the new bail package proposal over, rattling off a list of reasons why they believe Diddy should be released from jail before his October 3rd sentencing. You know what's interesting about this, Media Prince, despite how you feel, to a certain extent, they have a point.
I think the way that they are wording it is they want you to understand that he didn't do anything to these men. His ex-girlfriends did things to the men, and he provided a housing quarter or service per se. They're really working, I will say this, Diddy's team are really working on the loopholes and the intricate details that can maybe see it from a different view of why he should be out, which is why we're also thinking, as we're talking now, like, they kind of have a point when you put it in that lame term. And of course, he didn't get any of the RICO charges, so that automatically clears him in that area. And they're also going on the emphasis that he is not violent. He's non-violent. He's non-confrontational. They're coming up with matters of what he'll do far as his sobriety and getting help in class. So they're going overtime in efforts to get him out before October 3rd. They don't even want him to have to go through sentencing on October 3rd. They're hoping that with this new bond package, he'll be able to just really walk the streets within the next few weeks. They're hoping. But far as the victims that are out here talking trash and doing things like, we saw the young ladies from Danity Kane, D Woods, and Aubrey O'Day were on a podcast, and they mentioned if Diddy walks, who's in jeopardy and who's fearing for their life, and they said both of us. So I think that's the new arena they're going to try to fight against, that he's going to be nonviolent, he's letting the past be the past, he's on good behavior, and again, he didn't commit any of these crimes. His ex-girlfriends did. So that's how they're going to find Diddy in a clear term of that. But I guess we'll see how this plays out. Yeah. They've been denying his other bond packages. They'll see if they'll deny this one.
Yeah, yet again, truly interesting. And to your point, we'll see how it plays out. We have time for one more Media Prince. In this case, it happens to surround Beyonce. Yes, Beyonce recently concluded her Cowboy Carter tour. She made history with the highest grossing country tour ever. Let me repeat, ever. Shall I say, surpassing $400 million in earnings. The Grammy winner singer graced the stage for the final time on her Cowboy Carter tour in Vegas over the weekend. She ended up bringing out Destiny's Child, her hubby and fellow musician Jay-Z, and Shaboozey for surprise performances. Are we surprised that she was able to generate this amount of money throughout her entire tour?
Of course not. This is Beyonce we're talking about. And she also made another history because due to this tour doing so successful, she is the only act to have two tours surpass over $400 million. So shout out to Beyonce. But I have a bone to pick, Queen Bee. Come a little closer. You were here in the nation's capital, and you didn't even bring out Shaboozey then, or Jay-Z, let alone Destiny's Child. Do you love us? Do you have beef with us? Because I sat in that crowd for hours for you to get on stage, and we didn't get nothing but you not saying we ain't want you in Blue Ivy. But come on now, did you not want to do any more in the nation's capital? That was my big thing. But again, shout out to Queen Bee for breaking records like she always does. I think at this point we know if she has a tour, it's going to do numbers. And the fact that she was able to do this at 32 shows, because this tour was probably her least amount of tour dates ever for any of her tours. And she let us know after Renaissance that she wouldn't be touring so much like she used to. So the fact that she was able to still garner 1.3 million tickets, give it up for the queen of music. We have nothing to say but to bow down like she's told us years and years ago to do.
Yeah, and the proof in this case is in the bank account. Media Prince, we got to leave it there. Always good to see you as we dish all things celebrity right here on the Live Zone. We'll chat soon, my friend.
We will chat soon, and until what? What do you do, guys?
We are live in the zone. All right, guys, speaking of being in the zone, how about we do a little Tuesday Talkers? Tony P joins us next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. We are now 19 minutes away from The Take. And guess who's going to be on it? The one and only Tony P, who joins us now right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend.
My friend, how you doing?
I'm good. Last time I saw you, and it's funny because we were just talking about it right here in the newsroom. Happened to be on social media. I think you were headed out, and you happened to be looking fly, my man.
You know, it's the first time actually I was fashionable on a date. Like, either I go with like the suburban dad, like golf shirt with the pants or the shorts. This time I finally went with actually something fashionable that was actually nice.
Yeah, it was cool.
And you know what? It actually only cost me $50 total.
Oh, that's the best part.
Pants were like 30, and the shirt was like $14.
Yeah.
So you know what? I may have actually found something that's cheap, and I can actually look decently on these dates now.
I say it all the time. It's not the name brand. It's how you wear it and how you look in it.
You got it.
That's the key.
It's kind of like with golf. Like, it's not about the golf clubs. It's about the person hitting the golf.
For me, I stink. So I'm the bad person to hit it with.
We gotta have a Fox 5 like outing at some point to just like have all the numbers put up there.
Yeah. All right, let's do our Tuesday Talkers. These are some of the stories that you folks are talking about at home. And it's interesting because we have two guys talking about the first one that pertains to the ladies. In this case,
That should end well.
I know, a number of Gen Zers and millennials. Well, we're talking about what women are chasing vibe-wise this summer. The biggest one happens to be Grandma Core vibe. That's where you, well, let's say you have a vintage-inspired simplicity type of lifestyle while being cozy. Next up, the Coastal Cowgirl. That's a little different. That's where women love mixing beachy vibes with rustic elements. Then there happens to be the Pilates Princess, Tony P. That's where you gravitate towards wellness in daily routines. And last but not least, Tomato Girls, who embrace all things romance and all things Mediterranean inspired.
So tomato and love, I never knew that had that connection. I mean, maybe it's the Italian thing in me, like mom sauce, tomato, that was love, I guess. You know, I kind of see the connection there. No, but I think this is great. First of all, I mean, I'm a big fan of like interior design. Right?
Sure.
I think a lot of guys got to have their apartment together. You don't want John Taffer going through there going, this is absolutely a mess and this should be shut down and condemned, all right? You want a decent place that looks good, that has a rustic feel. I see a lot of guys on social media that are posting that are design folks.
Yeah.
That are like talking about, hey, a good bachelor pad. You know, cleaning up the place before date night. We're starting a trend, and I think as dudes are responding to it. This is good. So,
is there a particular vibe for Tony P?
Oh yes. I mean, I kind of like kind of I don't know, like a kind of nouveau chic 80s style.
Okay.
Like 80s style, kind of like a lot of like blacks and silvers in the house, but kind of with the coziness of a nice shag rug. Or I like all rugs in my house. Don't ask me why. I love all. I'm not a big fan of hardwood. I gotta have some nice cozy rugs, but you gotta have like the different chic design, sleekness of the 80s type look.
Yeah.
You know, the modern art, but have a little bit of coziness underneath. So
by the way,
matches this, I guess. You know, maybe I'm actually in the right place at the right time.
You are so
and
right.
With my decent clothing now, because by my shirt last night, I felt like I was kind of on the French Riviera or in Greece wearing that shirt. So, you know, I'm getting there.
We're going to get that up for you so you folks at home can check it out. By the way, your music selection, it's seriously cool as well.
And lip
it
sync.
stands the test of time.
It does. Reverend Al Green. No one knows he's a reverend. Reverend Al Green. The best. Okay?
That's coming from Tony P, ladies and gentlemen. Out of curiosity, how many friends do you have? I'm referring to close friends.
Good question. I would say I have like kind of circles of trust.
Okay.
I have the first circle of trust, the deep friends, 5. Then it's like 6 to 7 that are in the second outer rings, like 11 or 12 close friends.
All right, he hit the nail right on the head according to a newly released study. Well, new research shows a certain number is attainable, and if you have that certain number, you are considered, in essence, well. What is that number?
There's a demarcation for this?
Yeah. On average, people with high well-being have 5 people they can rely on. Those with poor mental health report just over 3. So it sounds like you're in the right state of mind, my friend.
I guess. I mean, again, having different layers of friends is really important. Again, like which friends do you go to hype you up? There are some friends that are there, who've been there with you for a long time, that are there to call you out. Like I have friends that will call me after a show, go, "You stunk tonight." It's like, and again, do I want to hear it? Not exactly. No. Did I volunteer it? No, but again, you have those friends that are there to kind of slap you down when you think that you're really something.
Yeah.
So I think everybody has a role.
Yeah.
And I always say, there are different friends for different seasons.
Yeah, that is so true. Don't you? Okay, to your point, you don't love them, but it makes you fully understand and appreciate who you are and appreciate them for putting you in your place.
Exactly, because that means they care, number one. And for me, I've always feared being arrogant or being just like not humble and not really like understanding where my place is. I think it's important to have friends that keep you in that zone. Hey, you know what? You're not as good as you think you are.
Yeah.
You got to keep working and keep grinding, and then have your friends kind of boost you when things are not so good. So it's kind of like it's a give and take. My dad's one of those people. He's the one that knows when to really slap me down and when to kind of feather the nest a little bit.
Absolutely.
Using a lot of references today.
We'll end with this, and we know that you you happen to be looking for love, Mr. Tony P. And
it's looking, actively seeking and failing sometimes.
Okay. Well, hopefully one day for you, my friend, you can walk down that aisle and say, "I do." The question is, when you decide to do just that, are you going to have a big wedding or what they call a micro wedding? Because apparently that's on the rise. According to a newly released study, a number of people are now focusing on that. It's when you have between 25 and 50 people at your wedding. The typical wedding now costs about $35,000. In this case, the micro wedding should cost you around $10,000.
That's not bad. I mean, first of all, my generation can't afford diddly poo. So I think it's just good from a financial perspective, right? Until we figure out how to get our numbers up in terms of saving or just getting better wages, whatever. But I'll say this. Marriage is tough. I mean, there's a 50-50 rate that you might not stay together. Divorce rate is 50%. If you're going to have that type of odds, I think it's a good idea to maybe just keep it small for the wedding.
Gosh.
And maybe if you get past 10 or 15 years, then you have a really big wedding. Like your 50th anniversary is really the big wedding. You have 500 people at that because you made it. You beat the odds, okay? And then when you get to 60 years, like my grandparents did, then you just go all out. You go like, road trip across Greece and Italy.
You made mention of your Italian heritage, and I've been to an Italian wedding before. Typically, a lot of folks.
Oh, it's exactly like the Goodfellas scene, and there is the satin bag that says cash on it, to quote Sebastian Maniscalco. Okay, and they throw the envelopes in there.
Gosh.
The best thing is when they have the lobster claw things. They kind of roll the money up in. That's the best when you get that. If you can feel the envelope being really thick there.
Oh, good stuff. You made mention of cash, sir. You are nothing but money. And I appreciate you joining us.
My basketball shooting skill. That's so good. I'll tell you, even in rec league, they threw me out after a couple of games.
Tony P joining us right here on the Live Zone. Stick around, folks. You can check him out. Coming up at 2 o'clock, he'll be on the take. Always appreciate you, my friend.
You are the best. I love hanging with you.
We'll take a quick break. Hey, on the flip side of that break, producer Chris joins us. Do you like it or not? We'll chat about that and so much more next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Quick story. I happened to be here yesterday, as I am every day. I'm going home, and I get a call from my mom, and she says, "Oh my gosh, Guy, I didn't know Chris has his own show. Now I'm going to watch
stealing some
day."
viewers.
You're stealing my mom there, buddy.
Stealing some viewers. Listen, I have always had the utmost respect for how hard you work, but I have a completely newfound respect for what it takes to put on a show right here
It's
in
a
the
lot.
Live
Yeah.
Zone studio. Because last night we launched a brand new
Yeah.
show for the first time, and we went live on vibes alone, as I like to say. Listen, I don't know whether you realize this, but Guy is talking off of the cuff for 2 hours a night up here. No prompter, no nothing.
Yeah.
He's just out here off the top. I mean, you obviously put so much preparation into it.
I appreciate that, my man.
And it shows, obviously.
It's a team effort, though. Shout out my producer, Emmy. as
Producer
well.
Emmy
Yeah.
sitting over here, an excellent teacher as well, because we're learning a lot from her as we go. But do you like it or not? That is the new show streaming on Fox Local and on Fox 5 DC's YouTube page, 7:30 after the OG Like It or Not. We share some similar topics,
Yep.
you know, because we want to follow up on some of the conversations there, but we also have some new ones as well. We have some familiar faces tonight. Tony P, he's
Yep.
co-hosting the OG Lion. He will then join me live here on the streaming show, but some new faces as well, because we tested for the first time last night the Lion Zoom room.
Oh, that was
and to
so
be honest
funny.
with you, it was a success. We still have some kinks to work out, and we are going to get to work right after this show ends to make sure it runs a little smoother. But we did have a lot of people
Yeah.
in the Zoom room last night who joined the conversation, including my wife Molly, who made her first Fox 5 appearance. To be honest with you, when we got engaged, she was a no-show. When we got married, she was a no-show. When we launched this show last night, she dragged out the ring light and joined us live to talk about legacy sequels. Big shout out to everyone who joined us live. The Lion Zoom room will be back open tonight. We'll put that code out, that meeting ID out a little later this afternoon. We will also have a QR code that you'll be able to scan that will take you directly into it. We'll set up kind of a little SOP
Yep.
for how it will work. We'll bring you into the conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, you can also share your thoughts in the comments section. Now, I will say, I'll give you a little sneak peek at one of the topics we're talking about tonight, because I just talked about it offline with Tony P, because you guys were talking about fashion, and GQ has an article out today. It's on their Instagram page, and they are asking the question whether skinny jeans are back.
Oh, wow.
Now, for some of us, they never really went away.
Yeah.
Because I was happy to just sit back and watch this trend of more wide-legged pants for men and blousey tops. Look, some people pull it off very successfully, but I was not about to go out and drop however much money on an entirely new wardrobe.
Yeah.
There was no guarantee it was going to work. I'm not saying this does, but I am promising you that that would not have worked for me, because it requires tailoring. There's a lot of money involved in looking good. All right?
Thank you, my
is
man.
evident. You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're asking the question, the return of skinny jeans. Do you like it or not? We'll want you to weigh in. Join us live. Let us know your thoughts on it. We'll have a new poll out tonight as well. And, you know, again, we're going to see what happens.
It's your chance at home to become a star, and that's what I love
right,
about it the
because
most.
I need as many co-hosts as that Zoom room can hold, to be honest with you. That's the beauty of it. Lion, there's only ever 4 at a time. This show, sky's the limit.
Do you like it or not? Beginning at 7:30 right here on the Fox Local app, which means you need to download it, not now, but right now.
Absolutely.
And you see it, the QR
There's the QR code. That's
to stream as well for our YouTube page.
Right.
All right. Producer Chris, always good to see you, my man.
Thanks for having me.
Check you out
And
tonight.
thanks for joining me.
Oh, no doubt. 7:30 tonight.
I'll be back.
Right here on the Fox Local app. We'll be right back.
Hi, guys.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. We are 1 minute away from the take. Real quick, want to thank some of our guests that got a chance to join us earlier, one of which happens to be Mr. Nick Bryant, the investigative journalist. He is the guy that has the black book to Jeffrey Epstein. He actually joined us live on air to talk about what he discovered and, well, quite honestly, the disturbing things he found within that black book. And then later on in the show, we were joined by none other than April Davis from Luma Luxury Matchmaking. Yes, it's all things about finding a relationship and making sure you get it right. Not one, not two, but count them. 6 tips overall. We'll make sure we post that to the Fox 5 website so you too can get a chance to rehash that. All right, don't forget, tonight, 7:30, Do You Like It or Not, with our very own producer, Chris. Also, throughout the week, training camp, Commander's Training Camp in a major way. You get a chance to check that out beginning at 12 noon. Right now, how about you check out the State Department briefing on our YouTube page. Click on that QR code and you can continue to watch it there. The Take, next on Fox 5.